My parents made it clear they wouldn't care for my children. "Your boys aren't our responsibility," my mother declared. They laughed, a cold, dismissive sound. My sister's kids, sitting nearby, giggled too. Within days, my phone was flooded with messages. Growing up, my parents' favoritism was unmistakable. My sister, Emily, was their pride, showered with affection and praise for the smallest things. I was the afterthought, expected to fend for myself. When I became a single parent to my twin boys, nothing shifted. They're my everything, but raising them alone since the divorce hasn't been easy. My parents treated my sons like an inconvenience they never signed up for. I stayed civil for years, brushing off their subtle digs, their obvious preference for Emily's children, and their calls that only came when they needed something, usually money. They'd feign care when it suited them. But 3 weeks ago, at a family dinner, their true feelings came to light. I asked if they could watch my boys for a weekend due to an unexpected work trip. Nothing big, just a couple of days. My sons were in the next room, piecing together a puzzle quietly. Before I could finish, my father smirked. "We're not taking your kids." My mother didn't hesitate. "They don't deserve our time." Then they laughed. Both of them. Emily's kids, engrossed in their screens, looked up and joined in. No one stopped them. No one thought it was wrong. I grabbed my boys and left, as if the house were on fire. I didn't argue. There was nothing to say. That night, I lay awake, my heart in pieces, humiliated and enraged. For the first time in years, I was done. Emily called the next day. "You're not like them," she said. She'd always been my anchor, reminding me I deserved better than our parents' neglect. She didn't defend them this time, just said she understood. That's when I decided I was finished with their games. I cut them off completely, streaming accounts they used, the shared music service, the grocery account tied to my card, and most importantly, the bank account they tapped into whenever they hit a rough patch. They never showed gratitude. They only remembered me when bills piled up. So I ended it. Quietly. Without a word. 3 days later, my phone erupted. My mother sent dozens of texts, then my father. The long-dead family chat sprang to life. They weren't subtle, demands, guilt trips, rants about my ingratitude and all they'd done for me. Not one apology. Not one mention of what they'd said about my sons. They didn't even ask if the boys were okay. They just wanted access again, to my accounts, my money, me. It hit me then. Without the funds, I was nothing to them. Emily told me I'd done the right thing. I knew she was right. But I didn't realize how far they'd go when they couldn't use me anymore. After I locked them out, there was silence for days. No texts, no calls, not even a snide message in the group chat. Just quiet. It felt unsettling, but I knew it wouldn't last. My parents don't tolerate being ignored, especially when money's at stake. Then the holidays arrived. I nearly skipped them, but Emily begged me to come, saying she didn't want to face them alone. I agreed, hoping to give my boys some normalcy. They'd been through enough. The moment we arrived, the tension was palpable. My mother didn't acknowledge my sons. My father flashed a fake smile, the kind he uses when he wants something. Emily greeted me at the door, her face screaming, this was a mistake. Then came the gifts. Emily's kids received expensive sneakers, new phones, stacks of gift cards. I tried to let it go, I swear I did. But when it was my boys' turn, my mother handed them each a cheap box of candy and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, it was from a generous father. Not their father. Just some vague, kind figure. As if I hadn't been their everything for years. My boys looked confused, clutching the boxes, waiting for something more. I wanted to leave, but I stayed for their sake. Emily saw it all and didn't hide her disgust. After that day, I told her I was done for good. No more family events. No more pretending. My sons deserved better than people who acted like they didn't exist. Months later, I had to travel again. Emily was overseas, and I had no one else. Against my instincts, I asked my parents to watch the boys. They agreed, saying it was fine. I didn't trust them, but I hoped they'd step up just this once. When I returned a week later, I knocked, expecting to find them with my sons. Instead, my boys answered the door alone. I thought maybe my parents had stepped out. But no, They'd taken Emily's kids and two of their friends to an amusement park. Overnight. Twice. My sons had been left alone in the house for 2 full days. They told me everything the moment I walked in. My youngest said they'd been told not to tell me, that Grandma and Grandpa said I'd overreact and ruin everything. I didn't shout. I sat in my car for an hour, trying to process how anyone could leave young children alone like that. When I confronted my parents, they didn't deny it. My mother said they were tired of babysitting. My father said my boys weren't like Emily's kids, difficult, ungrateful. Then came the line that burned into me. We're the best grandparents. We don't owe your kids anything. That was it. The final break. I hung up and blocked them. I didn't know what was next, but I knew they'd never see my sons again. But it wasn't over. The weight of what they'd done kept me up that night. I pictured my boys alone, heating up leftovers, locking doors, pretending they weren't scared. What if something had happened? What if they'd been hurt or sick and couldn't reach me? I called Emily the next morning, my anger spilling over. She was livid too and offered to confront them, but I told her it wasn't worth it. I was done trying to fix them. A week later, the family chat exploded again. My mother sent a long message claiming they weren't built for full-time childcare and that I never valued their efforts. She said my sons were distant, cold, and maybe it was my parenting. My father chimed in, saying they were better off without someone as bitter as me influencing them. It was as if they'd taken everything they resented about me and projected it onto my boys. That's when I realized it wasn't just favoritism. They actively disliked my sons. I deleted the chat. Relatives started reaching out, asking for both sides. But this wasn't about sides. It was about 2 little boys being treated like they didn't matter while their cousins got trips and lavish gifts. I told them everything. Most didn't reply. One uncle said I was blowing it out of proportion. I cut him off too. Emily stayed by my side. She welcomed my boys into her home, making them feel wanted. She didn't try to mend things, she just showed up. I'm grateful for her. But my parents weren't done. 2 weeks after I blocked them, a handwritten letter from my father arrived. For pages of self-justification, listing every penny they'd ever spent on me, school supplies, birthday gifts, even approximate costs. At the end, a line read, "You'll regret this when your boys grow up and ask why they had no grandparents." I burned the letter in a metal tin on my porch. I thought that was the end. But then word spread to my boys' school. One of Emily's kids, probably without meaning harm, mentioned the situation. Soon my sons came home asking why their grandparents didn't like them, if they'd done something wrong. I told them the truth softly. Some people don't deserve a place in our lives, and love is shown through actions, not words. They nodded, but I saw the pain in their eyes, and it broke me a little more each time. I thought we'd hit rock bottom. Then my parents made their final move. Small, deliberate, devastating. 2 months passed in peace. I started to feel hopeful. The boys were happier, Emily was around more, and life felt steady. Then my landlord called. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint about my home, claiming it was unsafe, that I neglected my children, that I had anger issues. The accusations were lies, twisted from private conversations. I knew who was behind it. I laughed when I hung up, not because it was funny, but because their desperation was absurd. They weren't just cutting ties, they were trying to ruin me. Then came a letter from Child Protective Services. The complaint had sparked an investigation. I sat there, holding it, for what felt like forever. I'd poured everything into raising my boys, and now I had to let strangers inspect my home and question my parenting. The social worker came 3 days later. She was kind and saw through the falsehoods, but I still had to stand there as she checked the fridge, the bedrooms, and asked my sons personal questions. My oldest cried when asked if he felt safe at home. I'll never forgive them for that. The case was closed a week later, ruled unfounded. But the damage was done. My boys were shaken, confused. I spent days rebuilding their sense of safety, that invisible shield every child needs. Just as we started to heal, Emily called, telling me to brace myself. Our parents had rewritten their wills, leaving everything to her kids. My sons weren't even named. She learned about it when her lawyer called by mistake. In the notes, They wrote that their legacy should reflect the family's values: strength, discipline, pride, loyalty. Loyalty, as if abandoning my sons and reporting me were acts of family devotion. Emily was furious. She confronted them, saying she wanted no part of their money, that she'd build her own life. She told them if they ever contacted my boys again, she'd expose them to everyone. That should have been the end. But it wasn't. One night, as I tucked the boys in, I found a photo taped to our door, a printed image of my sons at a school event, taken from a distance. No note, no message, just the picture. I stood outside in the cold, scanning the street. I saw nothing. For the first time, I wasn't just angry, I was scared. I didn't sleep that night, sitting by the door with a baseball bat, watching for any movement. Every sound made my heart race. This wasn't petty anymore, it was sinister. Watching my boys from afar and leaving that photo like a threat was twisted. I didn't know if it was my parents or someone they'd sent, but they wanted me to feel helpless. For a moment, I did. Then I realized I'd been fighting alone for too long. I decided to fight back, not to hurt them, but to expose them. I wanted everyone to see who they really were, beyond their perfect grandparents' facade. Their friends, their clubs, their church group. I gathered everything: old texts, screenshots, emails begging for money, voicemails with subtle threats, Emily's copy of the will, the CPS documents with the unfounded ruling. I compiled it into a clear, concise file and sent it anonymously to their pastor, their community groups, their neighborhood board, even my father's beloved alumni network. At the top, one line: "Do these people reflect your values?" Emily called 2 days later, in tears, begging me to stop. She said our parents were panicking, calling everyone to explain. My mother reportedly collapsed when her church questioned her about child neglect. My father threatened to sue the anonymous sender. Their carefully curated reputation was unraveling. Emily said I'd made my point, that they were humiliated and paying for their actions. She didn't defend them, she just didn't want it to escalate further. She said they were broken. I told her I wasn't done. This wasn't about revenge, it was about stopping them. But after that photo, something in me shifted. I wasn't just protecting my sons, I wanted them to learn that silence isn't strength, that there's no honor in protecting those who harm you. Emily visited soon after. She hugged the boys, then pulled me aside and said she'd convinced our parents to leave us alone. They'd agreed. If I let it go, they'd stay away. For a moment, it felt like closure. Then, the next morning, I found my car, parked right outside, keyed on every side. The word traitor was etched deep into the hood. I left it untouched for 2 days, letting traitor sit there like a mark of defiance. They thought I'd be ashamed. I wasn't. It only proved what I already knew: they couldn't feel remorse. They wanted to punish me for refusing to comply, for choosing my sons over them. But they didn't understand I wasn't afraid of their anger. I'd been afraid for too long of being tied to them at all. I didn't seek vengeance. I told the truth and let it land. They buried themselves by trying to hurt me. After dropping the boys at school that Monday, I took the car to a shop and had it repainted. Fresh coat, no trace of the word. I paid in full. No reminders of people who didn't belong in our lives. That night, I did what I should have done years ago. I erased them. New phone number, new email. I removed their names from every emergency contact: school, doctor, insurance. I left the family chat for good, blocked every number, deleted every photo of them. I scrubbed them out completely. Then I went further. I called a lawyer and made it official. Emily would be the boys' guardian if anything happened to me. Ironclad, no loopholes, no contact. Done. I told Emily everything. She didn't argue, just asked what else I needed. That's who she is. She didn't ask me to forgive them. A week later, a typed letter arrived. Formal, detached, no apology. Just excuses. Things got heated, emotions ran high, misunderstandings happened. They even blamed Emily for betraying them, as if she were the villain for supporting me. One line stood out: "We never thought you'd abandon us. You always came back before." That revealed everything. They didn't love me, they counted on my forgiveness. But not this time. I didn't reply, didn't call, didn't even tell Emily. I folded the letter and locked it away, not as a memory, but as a reminder. Months passed. Then something unexpected happened. People my parents had boasted to, neighbors, church friends, old club members, started contacting Emily, asking if the stories were true, if I'd really cut ties for good. She didn't dive into details, but didn't lie either. People noticed the shift. My parents stopped attending events, no longer invited. Their polished image was fading, and the weight of their actions was catching up in ways no one expected. They weren't angry anymore. They were ashamed. The last I heard, my father stepped down from a community board. My mother hadn't posted online in months. They'd gone silent, which, for them, said everything. As for me and my boys, we're thriving. They don't ask about their grandparents anymore. They don't mention them. I think they're starting to forget, and I think that's okay. We're building something new, rooted in love, not guilt or control. Just the three of us. And maybe that's the real ending, not revenge, not a confrontation or an apology that never came. Just peace. And them, left far behind us.